Ladies and gentlemen, they say an enemy's enemy is a friend, but in today's world, the fog of war seems to have blurred those definitions. Look at what is happening between Russia and Ukraine. Just hours before a fresh round of peace talks between the two sparring nations, 117 drones unleashed havoc in Putin's territory in the biggest ever drone strike in 3 years of war between the two countries, and destroyed 34%, read 41 aircraft of Russia's strategic cruise missile carrier. The world is watching with horror as the situation pivoted from the verge of peace to the brink of nuclear war. All this despite and perhaps due to the grandstanding by U.S. President Donald Trump about playing a crucial role in brokering a peace deal. All that chest thumping has come to a knot, and the world is wondering if Trump's attempted mediation has catalyzed this catastrophe. So is Trump the enemy or friend? Ask the opposition in India, and they will stick to the paradigm enemy's enemy is a friend, because their political narrative necessitates that Modi as enemy trumps Pakistan as enemy. So, Modi bigger enemy than Pakistan, to simplify it. And why then should they let facts come in the way of a convenient narrative? Sample how the Congress party has been keen on treating Trump's word as gospel, despite repeated dismissals of his role in India-Pak cessation of hostility.
प्रधानमंत्री मोदी पूरे देश में फैंसी ड्रेस कंपटीशन करते हुए घूम रहे हैं, एक बार मुंह नहीं खोला डोनाल्ड ट्रंप के विषय में। क्या आपने व्यापार रुकने के डर से सिंदूर का सौदा किया? यही हमारा सवाल पहले दिन से था, आज भी है।
President Trump has repeated the same point that he's been making. In 21 days, he's repeated 11 times. He's saying, I mediated, I brokered a ceasefire. He said these are two nuclear powers and it was very dangerous to have that escalation. And this third thing, which he has been saying all through, is that I use the instrument of trade and tariffs. But the Prime Minister is silent. Prime Minister has not responded to what President Trump has been saying and his colleagues have been saying. He's targeting the Congress party. He should be targeting Pakistan.
But this is not an aberration. Distrusting the government and generals has been a pattern for the Congress party, underlined further by its leaders' utterances post-Operation Sindoor. Here is a brief lowdown. First came the attempt at distortion of facts, when External Affairs Minister reiterated what the DGMO had already said, that India informed Pakistan after its terror infrastructure was struck. Congress wanted to fabricate the chronology and accused Jai Shankar of being an informant. They called him a gaddar. Then came the insistence that Rafale jets were downed by Pakistan during the military operation. Mind you, there is no such information in public domain about any Rafale being shot down. However, given Rahul Gandhi's historic antagonism for the fighter jet deal, it almost seems that the Congress wanted that the flagship fighter jet is discredited.
ऐसी बहुत सारी चर्चा है, हमारे राफेल 4 राफेल या 3 राफेल गिराए गए, ऐसी चर्चा है। तो सरकार ने स्पष्टीकरण देना चाहिए कि हमारा ये नुकसान नहीं हुआ, हमारा फायदा हुआ, ये सच्चाई है। हमने इतना भारत पाकिस्तान का नुकसान किया है, भारत का कुछ नहीं हुआ है, बता देना चाहिए।
మోడీ గారు తెచ్చిన రాఫెల్ యుద్ధ విమానాలు మన పాకిస్తాన్ కూల్చింది. ఎన్ని కూల్చిందో రాఫెల్ గురించి చెప్పమంటే ఈ రోజు చర్చలేదు.
As it appears very clearly, Rafale fighter aircraft were downed in the 4-day operations.
Faced with irrefutable evidence of the destruction and damage suffered by Pakistan, this time Congress is clearly bereft of its saboot-seeking strategy. So now the party has taken to counting India's losses. The latest trigger is the comment that has been made outside India that Indian jets were downed in initial stages of Operation Sindoor. However, while it has been dismissed that Pakistan's claims that 6 jets were shot down as absolutely incorrect, the Congress party is continuing to be outraged about it. about the government not breaking the news and thereby, according to them, misleading the country that nothing happened to our fighter pilots seems inconsequential for the party that repeatedly claims to stand with the forces. Now, for the $4 trillion economy, the loss of military hardware worth a few $1 million is hardly worth the bother or a headline. Indian Air Force pulverizing Pakistan into submission is the only thing that matters to India, but not for the Congress and the opposition. Such is the blatant disregard for prioritizing national interests that now even Congress's own veterans are asking, how difficult is it to be patriotic?
People keep saying, what are you doing in a delegation where there are people from the BJP? What are you doing there? Now, what are we doing here? We are doing here is what is needed for the country. No matter which party you're from, today what is needed is a single voice to speak in favor of the nation. And that's what we are doing here. When I say, is it so difficult to be a patriot? That's the question that has to be asked of those who are putting out tweets and saying things that I believe are not very encouraging when you want to do something for the nation.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the legitimate question we are asking on the Newshour tonight. And the Motorola legitimate question, is political narrative trumping nationalism for the Congress party? That's the question and that's the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight, Pradeep Bhandari, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Deepak Reddy, National Spokesperson of the Telugu Desam Party, Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at ORF, Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, scientist, now a war expert as well, Ghansham Tiwari, National Spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, Advocate Anmol Panwar, National Spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party. But my first question goes to Congress leader Sanjay Jha, and I want to ask you, Sanjay Jha, what is this obsession that you have with what's happened and what is the nuksan, what is the losses that India has got? Are you not satisfied with the gains that India has made? And are you not looking at the world situation at the moment? Do you know, this whole question that you're so obsessed with, why did you go in for a ceasefire? Why did Trump, get you to sit down and do a ceasefire? You've seen the situation of Trump. He was trying to build a peace between Ukraine and Russia, and look what happened before round 2 of the peace talks. You've seen the long drawn-out battle between Israel and Palestine. I want to ask you, do you want India to go that road, the Hamas-Israel road? Do you want, Ukraine-Russia kind of situation that you're so against the ceasefire that has been called? And it's not even been called ceasefire by the government. It's cessation of hostilities for the moment. It's a break. It's just status quo for now. Why, Sanjay Jha?
Navika, you have raised some serious questions. Let me try and answer them pronto. First and foremost, supporting a government during difficult times, especially when you have a cross-border military operation after the Pahalgam massacre, and being critical of its intelligence, security, or any other failure, are not mutually exclusive. It's perfectly logical and legitimate. I mean, nothing can be done with blind unilateral faith. I mean, the opposition represents the common people of India. I mean, the opposition actually added together has equal number of votes as the ruling dispensation has. We represent the voice of India, and people have questions in their minds, which is what parliamentarians raise. Now, here is the point, that you have today the Chief of Defense Staff, when General Anil Chauhan makes a statement that probably some of India's jets went down. It is, I think anyone who gets critical of him displays a highly, I would say, immature mental construct. Here is a distinguished man of uniform talking to, journalists abroad. I don't think it makes a difference where he spoke. He said that in Singapore. He spoke to foreign media channels like Bloomberg and Reuters. Then none of this makes his statement, to demand any criticism as some people from the right wing are doing. He's doing what I think is the job of the Indian Armed Forces. If Mr. Modi said, I give them all the freedom, then give them all the freedom. And I think they know and they speak with responsibility. Navika, there's a very pertinent thing that General Chauhan said. I think we all should take heed, particularly the ruling government. You know what he said? He said, it is my personal view that the most rational people are people in uniform when a conflict takes place. And this is a message to Mr. Bhandari's party, that what you are doing is propaganda, rhetoric, obfuscation, and opacity. All four words that don't behove a government of any country, definitely not in times of war. I mean, all people are expecting this government to do is to, as you mentioned, this Operation Sindoor is on, and Mr. Modi is on a complete election campaign. The BJP is running an aggressive Operation Sindoor, has become some kind of a political marketing instrument. I mean, how disgusting can that be? I mean, is that the new normal or what? I mean, ask myself that question.
Well, ask yourself, after 1971 victory, did the Congress party not use the 1971 war for their own party's propaganda? Maybe you were too young then, or maybe you were not even born, that you don't remember those times. That's all I can guess at this point, कि आप 1971 के बाद पैदा होगे, maybe even after emergency, that you don't remember those times. But Pradeep Bhandari's serious question that has been raised by Sanjay Jha, of course, the question is about India's losses, not about India's gains.
Well, Navika ji, there's a very famous line that a nation can survive its fool, even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. And unfortunately, the Congress party's Rahul Gandhi coterie is following that principle. Those who got votes from the opposition are representing the country in the all-party delegation. Those who are the coterie of Rahul Gandhi are sitting here and taking forward the enemy narrative. I completely agree with Sanjay that men in uniform are the most rational people. However, Sanjay's party forgot that in 2008 bulletproof jacket scam, where even for the bulletproof jacket for our forces in BSF, the Congress party was performing and engineering a scam. I completely agree with Sanjay that you should not have political leaders taking credit. Had it not been Indira Gandhi, which Congress party officially tweeted about as recently on 10th May 2025, without giving an iota of credit to Sam Manekshaw and only having Indira Gandhi's picture for 1971. So the Congress party in 1971 was only about Indira Gandhi, and now rightly, when the political leadership gave the free hand to the forces, the Congress party has an issue. But I will come to a larger point. You raised in your opening lead, Navika ji, that is it difficult to be patriotic. I completely agree that it is extremely difficult to be patriotic for Rahul Gandhi because he has a history of completely towing the enemy line. Let's look at it step by step. Rahul Gandhi's government post 2611, had it not towed the enemy line, had it even attacked Pakistan, an inch of Pakistan, we would have given the benefit of doubt to the questions they've raised. But they in 2010, just 2 years after 2611, released 25 Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul terrorists in a goodwill gesture. That is the Congress party. I would have believed the Congress party if Mr. Nehru, who is the founding father of the Congress party, would not have ceded Indian territory to Pakistan and China. So their history has been on being weak on national security. And they are speaking about our armed forces. These are men who did not even purchase a single artillery gun for the armed forces in 10 years when UPA was in power. These are the individuals who called army chief as Sadak Ka Gunda. So we don't need pravachans for them. The nation has to take a call whether it wants to take forward the narrative of enemies' losses or fictitious Indian losses. That is for the nation to decide. Every patriotic will only speak about enemies' losses. Every Mir Jafar within will speak about quote-unquote Indian losses.
Well, let me get in Ghanshyam Tiwari. And Ghanshyam Tiwari, my question to you is, Sanjay Jha mentions people in India have questions. I'm sure. But people in India are also, at the moment, quite satisfied that the country is in good hands and our army and our armed forces are well equipped to take any military decision at this point in time. Was he actually referring to other people in the country, especially those only on social media?
Good evening, Navika ji, to you, the viewers, and my fellow co-panelists. I have grown up in Air Force bases across 8 states in the country, in the cities and towns, and I have not seen anybody in India waiting for anybody else's certificate. Only those people who are corrupt or have doubts on their own nationalism challenge others on their nationalism. That is my life experience. The man you showed in your video, Uttam Reddy, is a retired IAF pilot. He said while being a minister in Telangana, he said he's ready to still fly the airplane. Now there are important questions that BJP will not answer, and I would want to share that. But when I heard the CDS for the first time, speaking to foreign press, breaking this global news on the loss of jets and the way the news traveled, important questions came to my mind. But the most important question was, has Mr. Rajnath Singh, the Defense Minister of India, retired, decided to retire, sannyas le liya hai? Because we are not a military nation. We are a democratic nation. The political leadership should speak up. The Prime Minister is afraid of press conferences. We know that. It's 11-year-old syndrome. But the Defense Minister can speak up. The important questions remain. Who were the terrorists? Why aren't they caught? Why and how did Pak attack our planes, which were in our territory and not targeting military assets? Why did we keep quiet when for a long time, when the global media reported our losses, eventually we accepted in a foreign country to American press? Why did Pak get away with so many of their excesses during and after the war, and even getting away with it? The CDS spoke about tactical mistakes and recovery. Why is the Defense Minister, a politician, a member of parliament, afraid to come and speak to the press? As far as the towing the enemy line, we have seen the Prime Minister jhuling jhula, and at the same time saying with respect to China that koi nahi aaya. If towing the enemy line is about $100 billion trade deficit with China, we know who tows the enemy line. But these questions are of today. It cannot go back to Nehru. It cannot go back to Indira Gandhi ji. It is of today. And we have a Prime Minister who has the backing of the entire opposition. Even with such backing and such powerful media support for him.
Backing of the opposition? Well, are you convinced, Sushant Sareen? Sushant Sareen, and I'll come to you, Pradeep Bhandari, for the question on the Defense Minister, but Sushant Sareen, Ghanshyam Tiwari, and I heard him carefully, he said excesses of Pakistan before and after the war. What are the excesses of Pakistan after the war? Can you tell us? Did the Indian Armed Forces not have a comprehensive victory? Did it not achieve its targets? What are these excesses that he speaks about? And number two, for people who are only looking at the tactical mistakes and not the military achievements, how would you respond?
Navika, I can't speak for Mr. Tiwari. I think he should explain himself what excesses he's talking about. So I can't speak for him. Secondly, on the other question, and the more substantive question, look, it was obviously a comprehensive victory. And frankly, I don't see what is the great revelation that the CDS made. The same thing had been said by Air Marshal Bharti during the first briefing. When he was put a question that have we suffered any losses, he said he did not specify what losses. And I don't see any reason why he should have at that point of time, because at least at that point of time, we were in the midst of an active situation. So he said, well, in any combat situation, losses are part and parcel of the game. The question to be asked is, what was the objective behind Operation Sindoor, and was that objective achieved? The objective was to hit Pakistani bases deep inside Pakistan, bases which we had only thought that we will hit. And finally, we went and hit in Bahawalpur, in Muridke, in Sialkot, in POK, in Muzaffarabad, all over the place. Second, will we control the escalation ladder? And clearly we did. Now, what is said a tactical mistake is technically not really even a tactical mistake. And let me try and explain. Navika, give me half a minute for that. Look, the initial decision of the government was to go and hit terrorist camps in Pakistan to set an example. The idea was not to hit Pakistan army because we did not want a bigger conflagration. We wanted to avoid that. It was a political military decision which was taken. And to that extent, you can say it was a tactical error, because the moment you start launching these kind of attacks, one of the first things you do is suppression of enemy air defenses, right? And you did not do it because you took a conscious political and military decision not to do it, because you did not want a bigger war. The moment the Pakistanis responded and attacked you, that is when you started hitting back and you started taking out all their air defenses. And this so-called great Pakistani Air Force, which is such a kick-ass thing, please tell me, after the first day, how many sorties did they carry out? How many attacks did they carry out? How many missiles did the Pakistan Air Force was nowhere to be seen after that first day, because they had been blinded, their support systems had been taken out, and by the third day, their air bases had been rendered dysfunctional. Now, if that is not a victory in these guys, and it is maybe we lost 2, maybe we lost 3 aircraft, so what's the big deal? Look, a country like India cannot be dissuaded by, oh, my aircraft has fallen, so I will not carry out my mission. Our attitude should be, you've taken out 1 aircraft, I am going to come back with you, I am going to bloody destroy you, I'll come back with 10 more aircraft. You take out 3 more, I'll come back with 20 aircraft. That should be our attitude. This kind of whining which is being done by these people, I can understand there's a political compulsion to do it. Right, they want to question certain decisions.
Is political compulsion reason enough, Sushant Sareen? I don't know. Sanjay Jha, answer that. You know, Sushant Sareen has given the most cogent response that you have been seeking. In a war, there are going to be some losses, or do you believe that you won't have a scratch and you will still have the enemy on its knees? Are we believing that? Do we believe that we are Alice in Wonderland?
Navika, I'm glad you're saying that. I hope Mr. Modi's government is listening to you. Absolutely. Which is why a very practical, pragmatic admission of truth is made by even Sushant Sareen today. I'm glad. This is the candidness we need in our conversations. I'm going to give you a very important...
No. You know, Sushant Sareen has said exactly what was said by our Air Marshal A.K. Bharti.
Yeah.
Not one word was different. Not one word was different. The problem with you is, that you're sitting here to only look for faults. You want to actually have a statistical analysis of how much have you been beaten before you want to do a statistical analysis of how much you have beaten Pakistan, and that is where I question what is your objective. Well, Pradeep Bhandari, on Defence Minister, you were asked
a very important point. The CDS also mentioned that 15% of the time went into countering fake news, 15% of the time. And we are very well aware of how cribbed and cropped videos of the External Affairs Minister were also shared by the Congress party. So here in the last few days, the Congress needs to answer, why is it so interested in A, taking forward the Pakistani narrative, B, I want to ask a simple question, which patriot wants to discuss publicly, Navika ji, despite the Foreign Secretary briefing privately to the all-party delegation and the External Affairs Minister briefing privately to the parliamentary panel in detail about the operation, which patriot in this country wants to speak publicly about quote-unquote Indian losses? I believe every patriot wants to speak about simple thing that we have had a decisive strategic victory over Pakistan. Even when we had lost the 1962 war, the Anderson-Bhagat committee report was not revealed in public domain because it was national security. Even in the 1971 war where we had won, the archives were not revealed for the public discussion. Even in the 1965 war, the archives were not revealed for public discussion because of national security concerns. So why do they want to discuss operational details of wins and losses, minute details in public domain? That is where I question their intent.
And this has been going on from day one. Robert Vadra actually made a statement saying that because Muslims are treated badly in India, which is why the Pahalgam attack happened. Before that, there was, Mr. Sos, who said that if Pakistan is saying it has nothing to do with Pahalgam, we should believe them. And Anmol Pawar, I want to ask you, when Salman Khurshid, a former External Affairs Minister, a congressman, has had to come out and say, when on mission against terrorism to carry India's message to the world, not the BJP's, India's message to the world, it's distressing that people at home are calculating political allegiances. Is it so difficult to be patriotic? I want to ask you, why are political parties finding it so difficult to be patriotic?
Good evening, Navika ji. Navika ji, when the Chief of Defence Staff or Air Force Staff, they speak, it carries immense weight. And their voices are from the highest levels of security establishment, and they must be heard with utmost seriousness. In such matters, it's the government duty to respond, not the political parties. So we don't want to comment on it. But the moot question is that when such senior officers speak, then nation expects answer. And it would be interesting that how long will the government take to respond to these allegations? After these Pahalgam incidents,
are these allegations? No. Would you call the CDS as making allegations against the government, Ashok? No. What are you saying, Anmol Panwar? What are the allegations?
Can I? No. I have not said that.
You have used the word allegations. You have used the word allegation. Please explain to me what is your allegation and what are you referring to as an allegation?
Let me make it very clear. I have not used any such word. I am saying that.
Well, I can play it back to you. I can play it back to you. Can I please have this recorded and I will play it back to you?
What is he saying? This is typical.
Did I hear wrong? Did anybody else hear the word allegation? Sanjay Jha, should I ask you, did he use the word allegation or not?
I think what he meant was disclosure. He's used the wrong word.
Okay, but he did use the word allegation.
Yeah, he did.
Do you want to correct? Do you want to correct the usage of the word?
Disclosure.
English is a tricky language.
Yeah, allegation is a wrong word to use, Mr. Paul.
He should apologize if he's not correcting it.
Navika ji, can I respond?
Yes,
Navika ji, I am making it very clear that we are not commenting on what the CDS has said. We are saying that the nation expects answer when such senior officers speak. अब ये सरकार को देखना है कि वो कब जवाब देंगे. Secondly, I want to say that after these Pahalgam incidents, we have seen many jechans in our country. We saw that how Congress echoed Pakistan's narrative. Mallikarjun Kharge ji said कि ये छुटपुट war है. Rahul Gandhi ji and Revant Reddy, they were asking कि भाई कितने रफाल गिरे, कितने हमारे रफाल गिरे. And their own Congress Minister Manjunath, he said कि भाई war तो कुछ हुआ ही नहीं, केवल 2-4 plane इधर उधर आ गए. And on the other hand, we also saw that how BJP Minister Vijay Shah said कि सोफिया जो है वो कर्नल सोफिया वो आतंकवादी की बहन है. We saw how BJP MP Janged said कि उन जो विधवा हुई उनमें वीरांगनाओं का भाव नहीं था. We saw how BJP MP Deputy Chief Minister, he said
okay, all right, we have debated those statements in the past, but I want to ask you, by seeking more details beyond CDS, beyond AK Bharti, the Air Marshal, I want to ask you, what do you want to gain? And Anand Ranganathan, I want to ask you this question. Is this just fishing in troubled waters? कि और कुछ चले ना चले, कोई इंडस्ट्री चले ना चले, कम से कम ये फेक फैक्ट्री and political industry should continue to keep producing more and more dividends for the opposition.
Good evening, Navika, and good evening to my fellow panelists. There are many experts on the panel I see, so I speak as a layman. Look, it is absolutely shameful how the Congress is behaving. There are no two ways about it. At a time when the entire nation should come together, their rhetoric in the wake of the CDS's remarks, that not only, by the way, echoed what Air Marshal Bharti already said, they were obviously vetted by our armed forces, each and every word. So their rhetoric is perfidious. It is akin to a doctor saying, the scalpel got a bit chipped during the operation, but the surgery was successful, and the Congress demanding the doctor be tried for negligence because the surgery was unsuccessful. Why is Rahul talking the language of Pakistan? Why is the fifth generation loser talking of downing of the fifth generation fighter? These are the same folks. Had they been in the cockpit, they'd have flown all night long looking for a Chinese radar to home in. Navika, Operation Sindoor has been a roaring success any which way you look at it. And that is why the Congress hates it, because its decade-long incompetence stands exposed. Let me explain. This is what no one's talking about. Number one, we have called out possibly once and for all Pakistan's nuclear bluff by targeting with precision and at will deep into mainland Pakistan, not only once but 24 locations at their terror hubs, airfields, ammo dumps, military locations. Their nuclear bluff, Navika, lies crunched up in the nearest trash can, and they know it. Perhaps that is why the Congress is hateful, because it has always succumbed to Pakistan's nuclear bluff and never called it out. Remember the time when we didn't bomb Pakistan's terror hubs in the wake of 26/11 despite pleadings of our Air Force? Number two, we have ascertained the robustness of our offense and more crucially our defense capabilities. The stupendous success of the ADS, the pinpoint accuracy of our missile strikes deep into Pakistan while our fighters not entering their airspace is an incredible reassurance to all Indians. Perhaps that is why the Congress is hateful, because under it our defense capabilities and equipment were found to be woefully short of necessary requirements. Most crucially, our fighter jet squadron stand. Number three, we have now lassoed the Indus Water Treaty into the tightest possible leash on the terror state of Pakistan with a tap-off, tap-on decision we will take depending upon their behavior. Perhaps that is why the Congress is hateful, because it signed this draconian treaty that was unbelievably lopsided against India and gave Pakistan the upper hand for 60 years through 3 wars and hundreds of terror attacks. Just 30 seconds. Number four, the new doctrine that we have formalized, that from now on every act of terror will be seen as act of war, is again a great plus. Perhaps that is why the Congress is hateful, because under it we were giving concessions to Pakistan. Even on Baluchistan, we continue to have Pakistan as the most favored nation despite terrible terror. Just 10 seconds.
Absolutely, and we were having peace talks with separatists, with Pakistan. We were doing Sharm el-Sheikh. We were, God knows what kind of red carpet treatment we were giving. But the questions come back, and I want to ask you, Deepak Reddy, the opposition is opportunistic. Why doesn't it act in nation's interest? These are questions from viewers. Utsav is asking this question. Anish Desai is asking the question, isn't the opposition being not just opportunistic but also immature? Also, Rajagopalan asking, why does Congress always spread negative narrative against the nation? Is this a coincidence?
Good evening, Navika. Today, I would like to start off by saying the people of India are looking at the behavior of political parties and the statements what are being made. And I'm proud to say Chandrababu Naidu ji and Lokesh ji have given a statement right in front of Modi ji saying that we stand with our armed forces and we support the government all the way. Now, this is the kind of statements which need to come out from political parties from across all states, and this is what the people of India are expecting. And now let me come to the issue of the CDS. If you compare the statements of the failed Marshal Bankar Munir to our CDS, it is very clear that you have a timid jihadist on one side and then you have a professional soldier on one side. I don't think much has to be talked about it anymore. But I'm shocked that although the Pakistani media is constantly using Congress leaders' statements against India in support of Pakistan, why are they shamelessly continuing such kind of statements which are anti-India and pro-Pakistan? This is really shocking. And today, Navika, I have 5 straight questions. With this, I challenge anybody from the Congress or the India ecosystem whether they could answer. If not, our viewers can draw their own conclusion to the true motive of the Congress and the India ecosystem. The first thing is, why is the Congress and the India ecosystem questioning our losses rather than Pakistan's losses? The second question is, why did the India ecosystem where did they get these random figures from, and they're throwing that so many are down and that's what we lost? Where are all these figures coming from? And the third thing is, where did the India ecosystem why are they questioning our armed forces and trying to undermine their spirit? And the fourth question I have to ask is, when we have so many kills to our advantage and a grand success, before taking a kill, the animal goes a couple of steps back to get a momentum. And you're not questioning the success of the kill, but you're questioning the 2 steps which were taken to get the momentum. What's wrong with you? Why are you doing this?
Tiwari, please
and the
respond.
last question what I have
Ghanshyam Tiwari, please respond to very, very logical questions being raised by Deepak Reddy.
Science so hard to export. No, this is the last question, Navika. Why is the I.N.D.I.A ecosystem trying so hard to expose our details to Pakistan in the middle of the war? I'm really surprised. These are the questions I have to ask. Can they answer?
Ghanshyam.
Ridiculous questions. All
well, I think I.N.D.I.A ecosystem, I don't know where this term belongs to. I.N.D.I.A ecosystem, I think the TDP can do better than this. But let's come to the substantial point. TDP has no question to answer about the missing defense minister. The Prime Minister taking Bollywood dialogues of 90s and 80s कि गोली का जवाब गोला से देंगे, रगों में सिंदूर चल रहा है, whereas Times of India, this very channel, publishing that Trump has spoken nearly a dozen times every day कि we, the great leaders of Pakistan, listen to me, my great friend Modi listened to me, we spoke about trade and we created ceasefire. So dismissing
So
Trump
you don't believe the DGMO, you do not believe the armed forces who came out and said that the first call came from the DGMO of Pakistan to the DGMO of India? You don't believe that?
I just know this fact that Trump has repeated 12 times.
Do you also know the fact that Trump was brokering peace between Ukraine and Russia? And what has happened? Is that a fact that you've missed, or do you believe?
On this very channel, probably BJP in 2024 ran the ad that war rukwa di papa between Ukraine and Russia. So let's not go there. We are talking about India, Pakistan and
Pradeep Bhandari.
Navika ji, I have a very simple question. For my friend Ghanshyam Tiwari, the defense minister was on INS Vikrant, and the defense minister has given a clarion call that sooner rather than later we will get POK. We don't need lectures from you, Ghanshyam ji, because your party in 2012 had gone to the court taking back cases of 12 dreaded terrorists. Many of them were involved in blast in India, so that is your trajectory. I have a very simple question, Navika ji. I give the benefit of doubt to the Indian opposition. If they can tell me a single cheaty they have killed in Pakistan after 26/11. चीटी भी अगर इन्होंने पाकिस्तान में 26/11 आतंकवादी हमले के बाद मारी है तो मैं इनको बेनिफिट ऑफ डाउट दे दूंगा, पर इन्होंने एक चीटी तक नहीं मारी है.
संजय झा, I have very little time left. I'll give you 10 seconds. चीटी मारी थी?
Very quickly, I'll tell you, Mr. Bhandari, surgical strikes, they were not called surgical strike, but operations across the border, the line of control or the international border was done under Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Sushant Sareen raising his hand. Sushant Sareen.
You guys have made a public...
No, very quick points, Navika. One, I think the point which Sanjay is raising has been clarified by very distinguished soldiers like General Huda, that yes, there were some strikes, but those were rather shallow. And that was something which has been done since 1971 and post that. So nothing exceptional about it. The surgical strikes which happened in between was qualitatively different. And just, Navika, 5 seconds more. To Ghanshyam Tiwari, I think he should understand a simple fact that Mr. Trump is the most fact-checked leader of the world in history, number one. And number two, Mr. Trump doesn't take himself seriously, which is why there's a new acronym called TACO. You know, and I'm sure Mr. Tiwari, if he was to look at the internet, he can figure out what TACO is, and how it applies to Trump. So, rather than falling for everything Trump says,
absolutely. Well, Trump's latest meme on social media is actually about how Biden is dead and a clone is operating instead of Biden now. Really, I leave it to the judgment of the viewers on what they think about Trump and whether they really think that Trump ne war rukwa di. Well, and that is the question we asked in a survey. Opposition's trust in Trump, is it opportunistic? Majority of the people, an overwhelming majority, says yes. Look at the number who say no. How many people are in favor of Modi's policy and how many of them are actually questioning Modi? Those numbers tell a story. Maybe it would do the opposition some good to look at what the nation is thinking. Of course, are they linked to reality is a decision they will need to take. We'll thank all our panelists joining me on debate number 1, but on the other side,